In today's Hotspot segment, we are focusing on India's efforts to heal the world through its Vaccine Maitri initiative. Vaccine Maitri literally translates into vaccine friendship. More than 22 countries have requested India to provide COVID-19 vaccines, while millions of vaccine doses have already been dispatched to the nations from Bhutan to Brazil and from Maldives to Mauritius. All this has been possible under the mission Vaccine Maitri initiative launched by the Government of India.
The COVID-19 pandemic has brought many a challenge before the world, but it is said that every challenge brings along an opportunity. India is now producing vaccines not only to meet its domestic use, but providing it to its neighbors and partner nations, true to its spirit of Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam, which means the world is one family. India responded to the call of humanity when Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi, as early as in May 2020, stated at the NAM conference how India is ensuring the medical supplies to the countries across the globe at the peak of the pandemic.
India is regarded as a pharmacy of the world, especially for affordable medicines. Despite our own needs, we have ensured medical supplies to over 123 partner countries.
External Affairs Minister of India, Dr. S. Jaishankar, on another occasion, reminded the global community about India's role as a pharmacy of the world.
The health and pharmaceutical sector has come in the spotlight recently in the context of the pandemic. As the pharmacy of the world, India was able to provide assured supplies of high-quality pharma products in difficult circumstances, in addition to giving life-saving medicines and protective gear to around 150 countries, 27 of them in Latin America and the Caribbean region.
The Vaccine Maitri initiative, in fact, is the logical culmination of India's role as a pharmacy of the world. Amidst the COVID-19 pandemic, scientific community, government agencies and research fraternity were galvanized into action, and two made-in-India vaccines came to the fore, more effective, safe and cost-efficient. India has approved the shipment of COVID-19 vaccine to Cambodia and plans to supply Mongolia and Pacific Island states. On Sunday, 500,000 doses of the vaccines were supplied to Afghanistan. The spokesperson for the External Affairs Ministry of India, Anurag Srivastav, elaborated on the upcoming phases of India's Vaccine Maitri initiative to supply made-in-India COVID-19 vaccines to neighbors and key partners.
We have so far supplied vaccines to Bhutan, Maldives, Bangladesh, Nepal, Myanmar, Mauritius, Seychelles, Sri Lanka, the UAE, Brazil, Morocco, Bahrain, Oman, Egypt, Algeria, Kuwait and South Africa. The supplies which have been made under grant assistance amount to 56 lakh doses, and supplies which have been made on a commercial basis, they amount to over 100 lakh doses. So this is the list of countries we have already supplied on grant as well as on commercial basis. And our external supplies of vaccine is an ongoing process depending on availability and domestic requirements. In terms of countries where our supplies will reach, the next set of supplies are for CARICOM countries, which is the Caribbean, Pacific Island states, Nicaragua, Afghanistan and Mongolia.
After setting its priorities ensuring the supplies for its own requirements, India embarked on its mission towards humanity. Just days after India launched the world's largest vaccination drive against COVID-19, India sent its first consignment of COVID-19 vaccinations to Bhutan. Bhutan's leadership and the citizens welcomed the warm-hearted initiative. Ambassador of India to Bhutan, Ms. Ruchira Kamboj, speaking to All India Radio, shared the sentiments in Bhutan.
Importantly, India has made good on its promise of standing shoulder to shoulder with Bhutan and will continue to do so in the coming months. The leadership and public of Bhutan has been deeply touched by India's gesture. The Prime Minister of Bhutan, Dr. Lote Tshering, has called this a display of altruism at its best. The Prime Minister of Bhutan has also made an important point, and I quote, "It is of unimaginable value when precious commodities are shared even before meeting your own needs, as opposed to giving out only after you have enough," calling this altruism at its best. Thank you, Prime Minister Lote, for your kind and gracious words, which are deeply appreciated. So truly, the dispatch of the vaccine was a testimony to India's commitment of neighborhood first and its leadership in the global fight against the COVID-19 pandemic.
Shortly after sending the vaccines to Bhutan, rays of hope in the form of COVID vaccines landed on the beautiful country of Maldives, as India shipped its first consignment of COVID vaccines to Mali. Indian High Commissioner in Maldives, Sanjay Sudhir, told All India Radio about the positive vibes it created in the island nation.
It was indeed a historic day for Maldives, as Maldives was the first country to receive Indian vaccine, and that also so early in January. Within 96 hours of the rollout of vaccine in India, they were not really expecting it, but it happened with the support of the Indian government. This was clearly an example of India's generosity and also reflects the depth of our bilateral relations. There is no doubt that Maldives occupies a very, very special place in the foreign policy of India. The India First foreign policy of Maldives is fully reciprocated by the Neighbourhood First policy of India, both in letter and spirit.
The world took note of India's magnanimity in the face of adversity. The Secretary General of the United Nations lauded India's initiatives to supply vaccines to other countries. He hailed India's vaccine manufacturing capabilities as an asset to the world.
I know that in India there is a very high level of production, both of Indian-developed vaccines and I think a very important perspective of also others, and we are in contact with Indian institutions for that, and we strongly hope that India will have all the instruments that are necessary to play a major role in making sure that a global vaccination campaign becomes possible. I think that the production capacity of India is one of the best assets the world has today, and I hope the world understands that it must be fully used.
Following this, India turned its attention to Mauritius, the African island nation which plays a prominent role in India's Indo-Pacific partnerships. High Commissioner of India to Mauritius, Mrs. Nandini Singla, told AIR that our age-old historical connect will get a boost with this development.
Mauritians are highly appreciative and grateful that Mauritius is one of only 7 priority partner countries of India which are receiving the vaccine in the first phase. And the fact that India has extended this humanitarian gesture barely a week after we started our own vaccination program for a population of 1.3 billion people is also seen as telling testimony to the special affection and importance attached to Mauritius by India. It has also reinforced the message of India's altruism and India's image as a friend in need, reflecting India's ethos of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam and the importance we attach to our key partners under our Neighbourhood First policy.
Reaching out beyond its immediate neighbours, India provided vaccines to Bahrain. The ambassador of Bahrain to India, Abdul Rahman Al Qaoud, said this proves the strength of the long-standing friendship between the two countries.
I would like to express our sincere appreciation to the leadership, government and people of Republic of India for their continuous collaboration and effort to strengthen the bilateral relation, which continues to deliver on the aspiration of both countries. The Kingdom of Bahrain and the Republic of India share historical and ever-growing friendship, my dear. Bahrain appreciates and welcomes the Republic of India cooperation in overcoming challenges presented by the COVID-19 pandemic.
Former Indian Ambassador Ashok Sajjanhar told AIR that the initiative underlines the significance of India's Vaccine Maitri initiative in the larger context of India's leadership role in today's world. In an exclusive interview with All India Radio.
The fact that India has provided vaccines to a large number of countries, while its own vaccine program domestically has been going on, has been looked at with great admiration and has been applauded by a large number of countries. Basically, I think there are two aspects. One is it is the actualization of the Neighbourhood First policy. Prime Minister Modi, when he had come to office in 2014, this was one of the most significant precepts of his foreign policy to improve relations with the neighbours. Secondly, it is also an element, a part of the Act East policy. So Myanmar comes in. Myanmar is a very important neighbour, a very significant neighbour. So in that context also, India has gone out of its way to provide, while there is so much of what is known as vaccine nationalism. So notwithstanding all that, India has supplied to these countries.
As the pharmacy of the world, Mr. Sajjanhar says, India is meeting its responsibilities to humanity as had been affirmed by Prime Minister Narendra Modi at the 75th anniversary of the establishment of the UN.
India is very rightly known as the pharmacy of the world. India was already supplying medicines as well as medical equipment to a large number of countries to deal with COVID-19. As far as vaccines are concerned, India produces more than 60% of the vaccines all over the world. So it has a particular responsibility in meeting the needs and requirements of the world. In fact, while speaking at the 75th anniversary of the establishment of the United Nations, Prime Minister Modi had said that when our vaccines are ready, and this he had said in October 2020, that when our vaccines are ready, then India will not only take care of its own people, but our vaccines will be used to serve the whole humanity.
The former ambassador described the vaccine Maitri as a synergy between India's hard and soft power, winning praise from around the world.
Vaccine Maitri mission is a very important element of India's foreign policy. It fully meets with the ethos of India's foreign policy as has been enunciated on a number of occasions by Prime Minister Modi. In addition to that, I think it needs to be seen as a very synergetic mix between soft power and hard power. It will definitely advance the geopolitical and geoeconomic interests of India. But in addition to that, it will also enhance the soft power of India. So it can be said that it is truly a smart power in operation that India has decided to reach out to provide succor to the whole world, which is battling with the coronavirus pandemic. India is making sure that it meets its domestic requirements, it meets its domestic concerns, and then it supplies to all the other countries. But the fact that India has stepped out and provided a hand of help to all countries in need has been noticed and has been very favorably commented upon. So this is a very strong step in advancing and promoting India's interests of good relations with a large number of our friends and partners.
While India's generosity is already drawing plaudits from people, leaders and organizations alike from around the world, India is not resting on its laurels. At a time when the world is witnessing the spectre of vaccine nationalism, India has emerged as a beacon of hope to ensure an equitable and affordable access to COVID-19 vaccine.